go to the Final Four in basketball. What do they talk about in basketball? I guess go to the Final Four.
Yeah. I think right now it's
even if you go to the Final Four, it's not enough.
Yeah.
You got to win the title. Isn't it true?
Yeah, I think that would be the next thing, and maybe that's what people are thinking. Hey, if we're good enough to get to the Final Four, you better win the title. You can't.
Right.
We're just getting to the Final Four. I don't think would be enough. I really do think that.
What do you think Texas Tech is talking about this year?
Yeah, they're not. Final Four isn't going to be good enough.
It's not enough. No,
I get that, and maybe that's where I'm wrong. Maybe that's where I'm.
Yeah.
Not thinking about
Snatch the pebble from my hand, young man. You'll learn the wisdom of Steve, which means nothing in July and August. You ready for the football season to start here in about 10 days?
I'm ready for games and to see actual football.
I assume you're not going to Hawaii?
I'm not. I thought about it.
You did?
Thought about it, but...
So did I.
I didn't feel like working when I go to Hawaii. I haven't been there in a long time. I was really, really little. I was like, I don't want to interrupt a trip to Hawaii with some work.
My last big game there was Arizona played Syracuse in the Aloha Bowl in 89, I think it was, or 90. And Arizona got shut out for the first time in forever. They had the record for NCAA record for not being shut out. And it was just a miserable game. But it was a fun week. I think they had a fun time, too, because they didn't show up to play. And it is what it is.
I think that's a sneaky difficult game for Arizona to open the season with.
No question. I talked about that. I had Rich Tomey on the show yesterday, and we talked about that because he lived it. And every time you see a team from the mainland go out there, whatever, early or late or whatever, they don't show up to play. They're not very good. And then they play like 2 a.m, whatever time that is over there. Not over there, but here. So it's going to be a tough. I think the spread is 11.
Yeah, I think it's a sneaky, difficult game for this team that if they're not ready.
Mm-hmm. The Wildcats by 11?
Yes.
Yeah.
Isn't that a little much based on how Hawaii did last season and the returners that they've got?
Give me $20. I'll take it to Vegas. Make you 18.
You are the bet whore.
I wouldn't touch this game because it could go either way. This could go either way. It's too many points and not enough. If that makes any sense. I wouldn't want to take Hawaii in 11 or give. I wouldn't. It's a fool's game.
I also think there's so many unproven pieces with Arizona that if they're going to be good this year, those pieces that are unproven, it's going to take some time. I don't know that we'll know right away, okay, these guys are what we think they're going to be.
Good word, proven. Who's proven? JJ?
Yeah.
Khalil?
To a certain extent.
So kind of, it's going to be kind of pregnant.
I think
it's
difficult.
More proven than not.
Proven. I think you have an idea of what you're going to get.
More proven than not proven.
Right.
On which side of the ball, Matt? You think we think we know better what kind of defense we might expect, or offense?
I think defense because you have a lot of the pieces are returning and you kind of understand better what they're going to do. Wide receivers, you have no idea. I mean, outside of Cedric Peterson, no one's really played significant time, and so you're going to be relying on a lot of young guys and a lot of guys who are a little bit older but haven't had extended looks. And when you're thinking about what Khalil Tate did last year and how many times he threw the ball and how many passing touchdowns he had, how many of those went to Sean Poindexter, who you don't have that guy anymore, and you don't have someone that looks like that and is proven in that way. And I think that's going to be something we just don't know until those guys get out on the field.
If he has one go-to guy, Khalil, who is it, do you think?
The big guy. We just talked to him. Or you guys
Bryce Wolma?
No, I think right now it's probably Cedric Peterson just because he's the only guy with significant playing time. He's the only returning starter, and we'll see. I think Drew Dixon could potentially be that guy.
So for a guy who wants to show how much his passing game has improved, things are going to be pretty thin out there for him.
Well, we don't know, and that's my point, is that we just don't know. There's guys. Drew Dixon looks like he's going to be very good. Jamari Joyner looks like he's going to be a solid receiver. Boobie Curry, who's a true freshman, he's never played in a game yet, in a college game. He looks like he's going to be pretty good.
But Khalil does have a good running back core to support him.
Right, and I think that's the key for Arizona offensively, is their running back group is super deep. It's probably the deepest I've seen since I've been covering the team, where they can legitimately go 5 deep, and there's not a huge drop-off. There's that natural drop-off that you're going to have after someone like JJ, but between the other guys, there's just not a lot of separation. I think they could throw any of those guys out there who all have different styles, and they could all be productive. So I think that's going to benefit Arizona, is having so many different running backs they can use.
I think there's still too many questions. I agree with you. And Khalil, if Khalil has a good game, a very good game, they'll win.
Yeah, I think all he needs to be is somewhere between what we saw last year and somewhere between what we saw in 2017 in October when he was, running crazy. I don't think he's ever going to get back to that level. I don't think he wants to be that guy anymore. I think he wants to show that he can be all-around quarterback.
Mm-hmm. If all the pieces click, boy, the Wildcats could win big.
Where? The season?
Both sides of the ball. I'm talking about the Hawaii game.
Oh, yeah. No, of course.
This is going to tell us something. It may not tell us a lot.
I agree.
But it's going to tell us something.
Oh, yeah, I agree. What did you make of Khalil's meeting with the press 5 days ago or whatever it was?
I thought it showed some maturity similar to Scotty Young when Scotty Young talked. And even if you don't mean all those things that you're saying, and even if you're just saying, hey, I'm going into it, I know what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
I think it still shows a certain amount of maturity that you have to do that and to say some of those things. And we'll see what it all means. I thought he looked comfortable. I thought more comfortable than he looked all of last season talking with the media.
I thought he looked better in the spring when he spoke to us because he said all the right things. I was completely sold on him in the spring because he said all the right things. And, of course, you can say the right things at any time and blah, blah, blah. He didn't answer a couple of questions. Is how are you going to handle the press when you lose or you were snarky and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
It wasn't phrased that way. And he says, well, we just can't lose.
Yeah.
Which was a great answer.
Yeah.
But not the answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
What did you think when you first heard that?
I thought it was funny. I thought it was very Khalil. I still think his personality is going to be his personality. I don't think he's going to change.
Sure.
And I thought that was still some of his personality and showing, hey, I'm still kind of that guy that everyone got to know last year.
Yeah. That
he didn't want to think about what he would say if they lost. He's not thinking that way.
Of course, you're not going to think that way, but at some point you're going to have to think that way.
When you lose.
Yes, when you lose. Yes. And maybe they won't. He won't have to deal with it. He says, well, if we don't lose, you guys don't ask those questions. So it is what it is. Yeah. You want to stop talking about this? Where you grew up in California?
Yep.
Who's your idol growing up? He's probably still playing.
In California? Like a college player or just
college or pro baseball? I'm sure you were a Dodger fan or an Angels fan.
Angels fan. Really, I mean, it was Brett Favre, which is strange for California. But
Why?
At the time, the Rams were gone, and so the Raiders were both gone when I kind of was growing up. So we didn't have an NFL team, and he was just kind of the sports figure I gravitated towards.
Well, you had some winning.
Yeah.
A lot of controversy, or some controversy.
Yeah, but when you're 10 years old, you don't understand what it means anyways.
That's true. Really, it was that long ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
When did you first get really interested in sports, Matt?
Probably, I mean, I probably shouldn't say that here in Tucson, but UCLA basketball was really like my introduction to, hey, I think this is something I really love. And even
back when Coach Wooden was still coaching?
Oh, yeah. I was 24 years old. No, I mean, in the early 90s, mid-90s, when they were winning. And that was really what I think got me interested in college basketball. And then it was interesting. My older brother was kind of just everywhere with sports, and so he really liked Arizona. That was his team, and we liked, Miles Simon and Mike Bibby and all those guys. So we really watched the team that won it all, and we liked kind of their whole style. And a little brother looking up to his big brother, just wanted to do everything he did, anyways. So just kind of followed that path. But I think. For me, it was a baseball family. We grew up kind of all watching baseball, watching the Angels. I grew up probably 5 minutes from Angel Stadium. So when they were really bad, we were going to games. I was probably about 3 years old or 4 years old. So it's just kind of something I've always been around.
Yeah. So the guy Mr. Trout, not a fan? I'm sure.
Yeah, but I mean, I think I'm older than him. So.
And then you're over it.
Yeah.
And then you're over it. It's funny that you're talking like me now, kind of in a jaded way.
Yeah, I mean, that's like I said earlier. There's like a couple teams that I can really be fans of.
Mm-hmm.
Angels are one of them. The Packers are the other one.
So
I can really kind of still be a fan of those.
So now that you've been here, you have no dog in the fight. You're like me. I'm an out-of-towner. I've been here 30 years. It's easier to cover a winner than it is a loser. There's no question because you have better stories and everybody loves a winner. When was the last time you cheered at a sporting event?
It's been a while.
It's been 30 years for me.
Wow. Hasn't been that long for me.
Were you at the event or on your couch?
Good question. That's because that's a factor. At the event, not so much. I think this is the truest I can come. When they won the title in '97, I wasn't. Not that I cheered. I was very proud of the guys that I got to cover, and it's obviously started my career in a weird way because I was able to write my first book from it, and it kind of started the other books. But I'm thankful that they won that, because had that not happened, I wouldn't have written all those books. But that's a good question. On the couch when I'm watching, no problem, because I have no interest in terms of emotional. So I love seeing great plays and things like that, and cheer for teams. But like the Warriors, I'm a fan of the Warriors for one reason and one reason only: Steve Kerr. And I think he's a good coach. I think he's a good guy. I like his philosophy. But other than that, I really don't. Maybe a little of Luke Walton. But I'm not a Laker guy, so, that's not qualified. So that's how. But
would you gravitate towards the Clippers now that the Clippers have snaked a couple of players away from the Lakers?
No, because I'm not a Laker guy. No, I'm still going to be a Golden State Warrior. And in fact, I'm hoping that if I had some money, I would put like $50 for them to win the title. I think they're at 15-1.
But if it was a Clipper-Laker game, who would you be rooting for?
Oh, I wouldn't care. I'd be watching something else like Matt would be, like ID channel.
There's a lot of nice documentaries out there.
Yes. No, I wouldn't care. Do you? How often do you watch sports? Like, you didn't have a chance, or you didn't want to watch it recently.
Yeah.
How often do you choose not to? It's very rare. I'm sure you watch.
Yeah, I'll watch.
But so yesterday or whatever day it was an aberration. It was not a.
Yeah, there's moments where I'll just try and watch something else. Like I said, the Angels recently kind of started going down. So when they were hot for a little while, I was watching them and making sure I watched all the games and all that stuff. But, I think, and that's when I can kind of get in the mindset of certain fans and kind of feel, because we have this separation between what a fan is and what we do.
Right.
That sometimes there is a disconnect between me and, people on the website, where you can kind of understand where they're coming from a little bit more when you kind of get in that fan mindset. Okay, this is why they say these things and feel this certain way about these things.
We'll get back to that. Let's talk to JB. Thanks for calling in, JB.
Hi, Steve.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing well. I've really been enjoying listening today. It just sounded like a classic show.
Thank you.
And I'm trying to think of the guy that. I'm sorry. I was pushing the wrong side of the volume.
Yeah, just
turn it all the way down, JB.
Right. The guy that called in was so great to listen to. He was really funny without trying to be. That was talking about the U of A and the history.
Scott.
I thought he was great. But I wanted to ask you a question.
Go ahead.
And it might not be very easy to answer because it's kind of nebulous. How hard was it to write your first book, and about how long did it take you?
A good question, not a tough question. Right after they won the title in '97, I was asked about a week or two after. I could be wrong with that. A week or two after, to do the book. If you saw it, it's just a simple, a really nice, cool picture book with did stories on every game, every player, all the scenarios en route to the title. They gave me a month. They gave me a month. Yes, so I had to write about 30,000 words in a month.
So you were commissioned to write this book by
the publisher. By the publisher. And it went to the U of A. The U of A used it as a alumni type of thing to sell to alums. Yeah. The best book, I don't know if do you have that book? Is that what you're asking? Or?
To be honest, I don't tend to buy a lot of books, and I don't really buy sports. I don't really buy any books, rarely.
You're not alone.
Except for used ones.
Right.
I rarely ever buy sports books unless there's something specifically for training.
Yeah. Well, these books, if you're not a UA fan, there's no use in buying it, but a lot of the UA fans did. In fact, from that book, I did another smaller book. It was Tales of the Arizona Hardwood, I think it was. And then the third book, which kind of was, I'm very proud of it, was the Arizona Basketball Vault. And I just found out maybe 2 weeks ago, I found out maybe 2 years ago that it was in the top 100 college basketball books of all time.
Wow.
But then 2 weeks ago, I kind of did a Google search and stuff and finally found it. It's number 70 on that list. And only because it's just unique. It's just a box with a bunch of stuff in it with a bunch of stories. And then the recent one that I did with Anthony, that was a fun book to write. It took us I don't know, 4 or 5 months because the focus changed. If you remember when Arizona was in 2015, I think it was, they were undefeated. They went to Cal.
Don't remind me.
So they went to Cal. They're undefeated, and Ashley got hurt. So the publisher was ready to do a national title book, maybe possibly going undefeated or winning the title. And I said, I'm in. Let's do it. And I was already starting to write that, and then he got hurt. So then we changed the focus to the 100 things, and that's why it turned out the way it did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's got to make you feel really good to be up on that list, though. That's what a great accomplishment.
Yeah, it was fun. There's a lot of cool books on that list too. It's fun. I might post that on Facebook at some point when I need.
I'm gonna when I get into a used bookstore one of these days, I'm definitely gonna look up your books.
Yeah, please do.
And go through them.
Yes, fine. Let me sign it so I can diminish the value.
I'd be very happy to, Steve.
All right. Thank you, JB. Thanks for the call. How often do you listen?
Oh, now and then. I'm just, I'm less of a radio guy, but I really appreciate the quality of the show. I've been following local radio since before Gabe had his show, and I always enjoyed yourself and some of your fellow sports writers. He had his little round table. And it was great when you had him come on. I think it was it was one of your first shows.
It was my first show. Yeah.
Oh, and what he was talking about, like Brian Williams and all this stuff. I mean, great stuff.
Right. No, it was fun. He was my first guest. He's been on the show again the time before. He'll probably be back when he comes to visit. I always like talking to Gabe.
Oh, and some of your interviews. I mean, they're just a blast to listen to. What's her name? Chrissy Perham.
Yes. Crazy
I would
Chrissy.
just like to pal around with her sometimes. She just sounds like a riot. Just so much fun, so smart.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
There's just so many really interesting people that have come out of the sports programs that have such great personalities.
Yes, no question.
That's the big part. And see, that's what you bring out in your show.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for listening.
You bet.
The check's in the mail. Thank you.
Okay. I'll look forward to it. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes.
All right,
hey,
bye.
we're over it, Tom, I think by a couple minutes. Let's take a quick break, come back on the other side, and talk more sports gibberish. Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera, your host. Do we have a phone call? No? No? Okay. I thought I saw it ringing earlier.
Well, let's invite him to call in.
790-2040. I just saw the light blinking and then it's gone.
Well, I thought there was someone calling, but when I answered it, there was a dial tone. So
it's probably my mom. She hasn't talked to me in a while. Hey, the only time I get to talk to you is when you're on the show. What do you want for dinner?
You're talking about your book in the last segment. My mom loves your book.
Which one?
The last one.
Oh, the last. Oh, does she?
Yeah. It's in. I think you gave me a copy. I had it on my table. And whenever she comes by, sometimes she'll just hang out and.
You know this guy?
Yeah, she's from Santa Fe, so I think maybe I think there's a bias.
Yes. Yeah.
A Santa Fe bias.
The two of us got out.
Like I said, we're probably related. If we go back, I'm sure we're probably related.
You are a perfect tax guy.
Yeah.
A tax break. My kids will love you for it. This is no, Dad. He's not part of the family. Hey, Charlie, thanks for calling in.
Hey, Steve, how's it going?
Fine, thank you.
I'm sitting here at the barbecue grill listening to you.
Uh-huh.
And I just want to compliment you that, the way you do your interviews and things, I'm a history guy.
Uh-huh.
And I don't think history is 1492, 1776, or anything. History is all about the people who were there doing the things. And that's the way that you talk about sports.
Yes. No, thank you.
It's not about this or that. It's about the people who were there.
Exactly.
That's why you're so good.
Well, thank you, and thank you very much. The reason I do the things I do is because you can get the scores somewhere else, and you can talk about analysis and stuff. But I want to talk to the people that kind of saw it and were involved in it and kind of were there to taste it. If that makes any sense, that's what's fun to me.
Yeah, and that's what's different. The championship basketball game, the team that was one thing. But the guys,
right?
How many guys had a story?
Right. No. Yeah, and I've had a lot of them on.
A lot of guys who had a story, and that's why I like the show so much.
Thank you very much. Are you a big U of A fan?
Yes, more football than basketball.
So let me ask: did you hear the question of the day?
Oh yes, for the last 30 years, I'll tell you. the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, isn't it that an easy question?
For me, it is.
Yeah, I think for a lot of people, I get it. They love basketball. It's basketball town, yada, yada, the national title. But the thing they lack in this whole ring thing is a Rose Bowl trip.
Yeah, and especially the old Rose Bowl, but that's gone.
Yeah, well, don't get too greedy there, senor.
Well, I can't now.
Yeah, you can now. Well, let's see what happens. What if they go ahead and give you your scenario, Matt?
What's my scenario?
That they qualify the Rose Bowl and it's not part of the Rose Bowl. It's
yeah. No, I think that's bound to happen. I just from being around Arizona football for the last 8 years or so, I can just sense that they're going to get to the point where they reach what would normally be the Rose Bowl, but it's going to be a year when they're good enough to make the college football playoff, and their destination will be somewhere other than the Rose Bowl, and fans will be like, well, wait, we wanted to go to the Rose Bowl, and instead you're going, the Sugar Bowl or somewhere else to go qualify for a national championship.
Yeah. Well, you'll take it, right, Charlie? You'll take whatever they get you.
Yeah, I'll take a good bowl, but boy, just ever since a little kid, I really wanted to see a Rose Bowl.
Yeah, you and the rest of this community, I think.
And now being an old man. Crap.
Hey, be patient, Charlie. Be patient. You're going to have to be.
Yeah, my grandkids might see it.
Good luck with that. Good luck with that. Hey, thanks for calling in, Charlie.
All right, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it. Thanks for the compliment.
Hey, one other thing.
Sure.
Can we get you back to the earlier part of the day?
Earlier slot? No, I'm probably going to stick here for a while, unfortunately. Sorry.
Okay, well, that just works out better for my listening time. But, hey, you've got a good show.
Great.
Thank you.
Appreciate it very much. I appreciate it a lot. Matt, you're on the phone.
Hi, Steve.
Hey, Matt.
So I get this yesterday afternoon. I get this pop-up message on my phone, and I look at it. I thought it said, "Eye on the ball, Steve quits." And then I realized there wasn't a T in there. And thank goodness. But I ended up watching that hour. What a fantastic bunch of stories that he had. My favorite, and I didn't really remember the night that they won the championship. They had the best lead-in for a news story ever, and they got preempted by Heaven's Gate and their pudding pops.
Yeah, that's funny. I didn't realize that, too, because I'm obviously at the game and didn't realize that. But, thanks for – yeah, it's funny. Now I get what you're saying because I had Steve Quiss on yesterday, and you're saying Steve quits. I get it. Yes, funny, Matt. Thanks for you listen pretty often. Oh, and did you listen to the question that I posed today?
I just heard you ask. Well, I didn't hear the exact question. I just heard you discussing with your last caller.
Being a fan, I know you're not from here. I think you're not from here. Given that Arizona hasn't played in the Rose Bowl forever or ever, and the Final Four hasn't been around forever for Arizona, which would you prefer to be at the next one? Which is more important? Really? It's taking you this long?
The Rose Bowl would be a big deal, I think. But I don't know. You're getting to the point where, with the basketball program, you talked about this the other day. I mean, it's been 2 years?
No, it's been 18. So 2001, they went to
right, since the Final Four. Sorry, yeah. So, right.
So 19 and never to the Rose Bowl.
Never. I don't know. It's a toss-up. I don't know. It's a toss-up.
Yeah.
I mean, both of them are equal sources of pain for Wildcat fans, right? So just take your pick, I guess.
No question.
Equal sources of irritation.
Yeah, no, I get it. You're not. You're a realistic fan too, aren't you? You go for the entertainment. You have a dog in the fight because you are a fan, but you don't get really upset if they lose, do you?
Not really. Because look at it. They spent 20 years. They let Tommy go, and they spent 20 years trying to get to where he got. And we had a couple of flashes. We had the year that Stoops started kind of putting it together and got a couple of good wins, and then you had a couple of years ago where they went to the Fiesta Bowl and got slaughtered by Boise State. And then a couple of years, the year that they won the Pac-12 South, we get a rematch with Oregon. They somehow, I heard that they were stealing our signals. Even though we beat Oregon earlier in that season, we got slaughtered by them. I mean, just embarrassed by them in the conference championship game.
I don't know.
So you've had
I don't know if they were stealing signals. They were just that much better, in my mind. Don't you think, Matt? Yeah?
Well, I mean, how often do you play the same in college? Do you play the same team twice in one season? And I heard, I mean, it's like they always knew where the ball was going. And I think maybe they didn't change up their signals that they used in the first game.
It didn't help that Mariota had probably the best game of the season against the Wildcats.
So let me ask you.
You can't beat them earlier that season in Oregon, right? I mean, at Autzen.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors for that reason, though. For that reason of winning up there, I'll talk to you about that at another time, Matt. Just maybe off the.
Sure.
But it's just my theory of when people go on the road and that timing and all that stuff. They would just happen to catch them at the right time. Let me ask you. You talked about it, Tommy. How long have you been in Tucson?
93.
So 93. So Dick was already here for a while. He was fired in 99, 2000, whatever that year was.
Yeah, it was right when Desert Swarm was kind of
started.
Right.
So, and everyone here, kind of his theory for fans were kind of like, is he going to take us to the next level? Is he the guy? Because they were winning, but not winning big, and there's some good years, some bad years. And then you wonder, it's like dumping your girlfriend for you, hopefully somebody else that's better. And then that doesn't happen. It doesn't happen for 20 years, and you're wondering, what the heck did I do back then? Right. Because I really made a bad decision.
The fans wanted, we want a pro-style NFL, wide-open NFL-style offense. We're tired of Tommy was big. He worked with what he had, right? Mm-hmm. And he played ball control football. He played field position football, and had reasonable success with it. And everybody's like, run up the middle 3 times and then punt. We're bored. This is boring. Well, it was boring, and we did okay with it. He used the tools he had and used them effectively. Yeah. And like I said, we've spent 20 years.
Almost.
We really haven't gotten back to, any sort of sustained, except for a couple of, relatively good seasons and some good games.
Right.
Javier, every year I run through Javier's top 50 games that he published a few years ago, and I bookmarked a summary of them, and as I go through, and I think the big theme is that, there were a lot of great games over the years and a lot of seasons that had multiple great games as certain things started to fall in place, but you just never had the one that you just never had the season where it all kind of came together,
right.
Except for the 12-1. I mean, or the 10-2 season, but never the one where there was always like one game where we had a collapse that cost the Cats a shot at the Rose Bowl.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, it's just rough. So getting back to your question, I mean, it's okay. Swiss coffee or Off-White or Bone. It's like 6-6 or 7-5
mm-hmm.
or 5-7. I mean, so. And then when you consider that often, in the past several years, 3 of those games should have been wins.
Right.
So then you're talking about going, you got 9 other games, you're talking about going 3-6 in the pack and then getting a 6-6 record out of it.
Right.
So it's just, they start winning 8 or 9 games, I think people sit up and take notice. But 6-6 or 7-5, it's fun to go to. I love going to the football games. It's a fun event, and some of the games they pull out a win, and it's, you think back even 4 or 5 years ago to that Cal Berkeley game. They never were ahead while there was time on the clock.
Right.
They were never ahead. The only time they were ahead, the only time they pulled ahead was when there was no time on the clock.
Right, and he cut the pass.
And they won the game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's a lot of fun to go to, and I'm certainly not knocking it. And I know they're trying to. and this is one thing I wanted to bring up when Jacob Alsadek was on, was so the first time I met with Kelly and I met Jacob was at one of these, I think it was a steak and burger dinner, and they invited several football players, and he sat with us at our table. And I say, where are you from? San Diego. And he goes, I said, well, you going back for this? You must be looking forward to getting back home for the summer. He goes, he looks at us, he's like, you don't understand. We stay here all summer. The ones that want to move up, we stay here all summer. We work out. He said, I may go home for, a weekend or something towards the end, but before we go to camp, but this is what we do. And so the players all work really, really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Good years or bad years. The players, the coaches, I mean, you have to understand they work really hard. So it's kind of hard to kind of knock on them, but so you have to kind of temper what you say with the fact that they're all putting forth a great deal of effort.
Sure.
And it is fun, and it's good to go there and support them. And we see a lot of friends there. One friend we're not going to see there is, sadly, is Ken Flower. I mean,
right.
Every time I would see him at a football or basketball game, he'd say, "We're going to win this thing," and the answer better invariably be, "Of course we are," and I'm definitely going to miss that. But you see friends, you support the school, and it's a great community event. So we definitely enjoy going.
Right. Well, thanks for listening to that Jacobs Alsadek interview. One of my favorite guys. I didn't know him all that well, but when I talked to him, he was fantastic. Did you think much of it, Matt Alsadek? Great student athlete.
Oh, he was probably one of my favorite recruits to ever cover and talk to.
Yeah.
I mean, he was just a really bright guy.
Mm-hmm.
You would watch the line on his side. I mean, that line surged on his side. I mean, that guy was just an amazing offensive lineman.
Yeah, and still not good enough for the NFL. Imagine that.
I can't even understand how you just serious lack of judgment. Well, I'm sure the Cowboys did what they did, but he was certainly fantastic at this level.
Yeah. Matt, thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening.
All right, we'll see you.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it. Matt's one of those guys that listens all the time. He's got nothing better to do. Sorry, Matt. Have we taken a break? Or do we miss anyone?
We have one break left.
Let's do that because we're running a little late here on 1030 The Voice, trusted local news and talk. Hey, welcome back to Eye on the Ball here on 1030 The Voice. I'm Steve Rivera. We're about 15 minutes left of the show. I'm here with Matt Moreno in studio. If you can watch, if you can bear to watch this show again, we are on YouTube. We're live right now, and we're going to put it on YouTube later, so you can watch it anytime. You can see my ugly mug, unshaven mug, and Matt's young mug, so we can see who we are, what we do, what we try to do as I mumble and stumble my way. So we talked about Jacob Alsadek. I really like talking to him. He's a good storyteller, good story, backstory, blah, blah, blah. I think my second favorite guy in this recent time, and I've had a few, Will Parks.
Okay.
Remember when he cried on the stand, the podium?
Yeah.
That's exactly what you hope from a student athlete. Not that the cry, but you get that appreciation for why he's here. Yes?
Yeah.
The emotion.
Yeah. And here's a football player, a big football player, just couldn't say thank you enough to the people who covered him for what they did for him.
That's what the college experience should mean to a lot of these guys.
Exactly. True.
Yeah,
Matt?
no, I think that was, I mean, he was up there. I know who your favorite of the recent past is.
Sean Poindexter?
No. Oh, he's up there too.
Okay, tell me. Phillips?
Stephen Garola.
Oh, Stephen Garola, yeah. In fact, I enjoy talking to him because, you talk about it. Talk about it real quick.
Stephen Garola?
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's funny. I'm trying to remember who I talked to lately, but someone else said, you know who my favorite player was of the last, 5 or 6 years or so? It was Stephen Garola. And I was like, that's funny. He's I think people just liked his genuine kind of, he was who he was. And he wasn't afraid to be that way.
You know why for me?
Why?
Because there was that brush up with Rich Rod.
Oh.
That first night. You remember that night? He was yelling, Rich Rod was yelling at him, and he yelled back at Rich Rod, and blah, 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 went back and forth, and they both said cuss words, I think I can remember correctly. And obviously he apologized to Rich Rod one night. It was like the early practice in August and September.
I'd have to remember.
And that's why it was like, there was this big dude, intimidating dude.
Yeah.
And he was giving it back to Rich, and Rich was yelling at him. And I was like, and then the next day, because we're not allowed to talk to them then, but then I eventually got him. He talked about it, apologize for stepping out of line, blah, blah, blah. But I meant what I said, yada. So.
And that's what I think. To me, it was always, I am
who I am.
I am this guy, and if you don't like it, oh well.
Right. No, you love those guys. Nate Phillips, I thought you might talk about him. And then my guy, his timeline thing came on Facebook. The kid from Phoenix, Scottsdale, who went to Texas and came back, or Notre Dame.
Devontae Neal.
Devontae
Neal was your breakout player for every season he was here.
And it never panned out.
No.
It never
You were
panned
confident in that every year that he was going to be the guy.
out. He never was.
No.
For football, how about a guy who played with emotion, gave it everything he had in every game he played in? Scooby Wright.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Anthony got close to him. Yeah. I didn't get too close. In fact, I tried to get him on the show. Either I have the wrong number or he just didn't want to respond, because it was after the demise of the pro league that he's in. You know, and it's weird that he didn't make it.
One of my favorite Scooby Wright stories was he was still in high school. He'd already signed, or he'd already committed, because there wasn't the early signing period yet. He was going to sign, and it was, I believe, January-ish. It was basically an all-star type of event. He got invited because he was an Arizona guy. People hadn't really heard about him. At that point, he wasn't who he was going to become, but he got invited to this all-star game. And at that event was a guy who had committed, who Scooby came on his visit with to Arizona, Tony Macari, ended up going to Cal. And he was committed to Arizona, had flipped to Cal at that point. And Scooby, I did an interview. Scooby was one of the first guys there. They had like a little media day before kind of the week gets going. And I talked to Scooby, and he said, hey, after we were done with the interview, he's like, hey, have you seen Tony? I said, no, I haven't seen him. And he's like, oh, tell me when you see him, because I have to have some words with him. And he was not going to, they weren't going to be very nice words. And he was not happy about that decision. And it was funny that he was looking for him that whole week, and he was going to go give him a piece of his mind.
It's funny because Scooby, a good guy, I assume. I didn't talk to him a whole heck of a lot, but he didn't say much. Very quiet, very kind of like,
Yeah.
Was he like that younger?
No, I think you find that with a lot of players when they get to the college level, there's that little change that happens that they're not quite. Because I tell people Khalil stories about when I was, covering him as a recruit, and they go, "Really, Khalil Tate was this?" And I said, "Yeah, that's how he was." And they get into a different environment and they get a little bit more guarded and more conscious of more conscious of what they have to say, and to not break certain rules and to not say too much. And I think it's just easier to be a little bit more reserved, a little bit more quiet when that you're being told different things. Hey, don't say this, don't talk about that.
The guy really wanted to be good with and tried to a number of times was Trey Griffey. Couldn't. He said he was not very good with the microphone in front of him, or he said always the right things because the guys have my back and got me the ball and blah, blah, blah. But he was not very quotable, and he would have been fantastic.
Yeah, he was
Do you think it had anything to do with his dad?
No.
He didn't want to say anything that might put his dad in a bad light.
No, it was all U of A. Don't you think it's all U of A generally?
I think that might have come kind of just passing down from his dad. Hey, this is kind of what or just seeing it, being around and going, okay, that's how my dad kind of dealt with things. So that's how I'm just going to say these things because that's what sounds correct.
Because I can't remember a good soundbite from him forever. And I tried a few times because he was good. He wasn't good his first year because he had to sit out most of it, but he came on the scene pretty well.
Yeah, and then there's those guys like Jace Whitaker is an example of a guy who was not very talkative at all when he first got here and played a lot, and you wanted him to say things, who's really, come out of his shell, and now he'll tell you kind of what's on his mind, and he knows how to say things the right way without, breaking too many rules about talking about certain things, but with still giving you some kind of substance. So there's just different paths for different guys.
Who's the best assistant coach? You're talking to Murray tonight?
Yeah, DeMarco Murray's today.
So he's pretty good.
Yeah, well, he's had a lot of training. He's had a lot of training.
Well, let's suit him up.
Yeah,
he could still play.
He looks fantastic. I'm 55. I've never looked a day of my life like that.
He also didn't play in the NFL for 11 years.
Not making millions. No. No, you're right. He looks fantastic. He looks like he.
That was one of the first things. I think one of the first couple spring practices when obviously he'd just gotten here. I said, I don't know that your running backs coach is supposed to look better than about 90% of the team.
Hey, Matt.
Yeah.
Is there anybody on this team's defense that reminds you of Scooby Wright at all? Anybody that
Yeah, I think Colin Schooler's the one that it's the easy comparison to make. I don't know that there's definitely of the same cut of the same cloth. I think there's certain things that both of them do that you say, yeah, that's an easy comparison.
Would it be fair to say that Colin doesn't have quite the fire that Scooby did?
I think that's the appropriate word, and that's the thing that I would say is definitely it's a little bit more controlled. Scooby, I think there was a moment where I think I know that there was fear in a lot of players that he was going after, where it was just like, oh man, here comes that guy who looks like he might rip my head off, and Mike Berkovicki, was it, in that ASU game that he kind of almost did that?
Yeah.
I think there was some fear where I think Colin Schooler is such a nice guy and has it kind of buttoned up enough where he kind of knows the deal. He's obviously has a brother who plays at Oregon and kind of comes from a sports family. I think it's a little bit more buttoned up and less kind of loose cannon in terms of just on the field persona. But I think that's probably the closest one to being Scooby Wright.
Sometimes Scooby would look a little crazy, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, there was
And
moments where,
I think that intimidated guys.
yeah, no doubt. I think there was people who really believe that, man, this guy's going to really try and hurt me. And there was moments where it really looked like that.
Surprising he didn't make it.
Just the size.
Size. Sometimes
His family wasn't happy with me when I brought that up when he was a recruit at one point. I posted on the message boards, and I heard about it in person.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
From Dad?
Yeah.
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 His dad was one of those dads.
No, and they were always supportive of what I did and happy that I covered their son. And
Uh-huh.
obviously it was before he blew up to be Scooby and
Right.
the Scooby we know. But yeah, they didn't like that I said, he's a little bit on the small side.
Yeah. Yeah. Good dude, though. Good player. I mean, if you're good, they'll find a place. He just wasn't NFL good, and that happens. Come on.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I'm not LA Times good.
And people will bring up the recruiting rankings and all these different things, and they point to that a lot. That, hey, you guys got it wrong. Look at Tate Martell right now.
Yeah.
Hey, you guys got it wrong. Look
Right.
at he's nothing. He's gone to how many different schools and can't stick with any one of them. You guys got it wrong. Well, NFL teams get it wrong. NBA teams get it wrong. Major League Baseball teams get it very wrong sometimes. It's a hard practice to try and pinpoint, okay, we see talent now and project what that's going to be.
No question. In fact, there's a guy that plays for the Golden State Warriors that everyone got it wrong. Curry.
Yeah.
Played at Davidson, was a fantastic player in college. And, in fact, I got a message from somebody from back home in New Mexico says, see, how come Arizona couldn't recruit this guy? I said, he wasn't Arizona good.
No.
How come New Mexico couldn't recruit him? He was New Mexico good.
Yeah.
And everybody missed on him. And you're gonna grow up and become a better player as you play. And he was just ready because he worked his butt off to become an NBA player. He just didn't wake up and be that guy.
No.
It's called work ethic and practicing and doing all these things that some kids don't want to do.
I think there's two guys on this team and it's funny because Rich Rodriguez used to bring this up when he first brought him on, where if you're really trying to look for who's going to be good at the college level, for the most part, it's guys who produced in high school.
Sure.
And usually that's the one thing that carries over. If they have unreal numbers and are doing well on the field in high school, on the football side especially, it's usually going to carry over. J.J. Taylor's one who you said, I don't know, other than, yes, he's short. Other than that, I don't know why more schools aren't recruiting him and why he doesn't have more offers than what he has. And same with Colin Schooler. I saw him in high school and I said, I don't know what's missing other than that maybe he doesn't fit the ideal look of a big linebacker. But those are two guys where I said they're producing at high school. They look like guys that are going to be successful.
Well, look at the guy, your quarterback now, Goodell.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, 6'7"?
Yeah.
Fits the part, looks the part, but went to a small school, correct? So is that going to translate? Isn't it same kind of review?
Right.
You said, well, he went to a small school and had all these numbers. Yeah, but let's see what happens when he gets to the big time.
But didn't he have some good stats for Texas high school
He had
football?
some of the best stats.
Yeah. Yes. So I don't know if being at a small school makes that much of a difference.
It makes it's a more difficult kind of way to go about evaluating what he's going to be and projecting what he's going to be because you don't know what he's going to do against top talent every week. Where
Correct.
Some of these high school players in California are playing against top, Power 5 level players every week,
Right.
and you have a better idea. But
Well,
to me, Gunnell is an NFL guy right now, and it's about keeping that
grooming
going.
him. Well, what happened to the Red Rifle?
Junior college now.
Yeah, and he had great stats, right?
Yeah.
He just wasn't. He wasn't Arizona.
But there is again, it's similar to when Arizona gets 4-star guys a lot of the times, it ends up panning out. Well, they're getting them for a reason.
Right.
With him, he didn't have an offer for a reason, and
Right.
and
Right.
that tells you a lot of the story.
Right. No, I get it. It's timing, circumstance, where you're at, what's going on. We'll see how good they're going to be. You'll be back before maybe next week.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to Hawaii. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
Sit down with me and talk to.
I'll bring some sand in the studio here. And
Oh,
we'll
will you? Yeah.
bring an umbrella. And
We last week we had coconut water. We could do
That's
that again.
right.
Yeah.
Coconut milk. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So what's on tap for tomorrow?
You're asking me that today? I have no idea.
All right.
I wing it. But today was a good show. Yesterday was a good show. Thanks, Matt, for coming in.
Yeah, no problem.
Saving me 2 hours, and we got a poll
The
going.
callers, every time I come in, your guests, your radio call-ins,
They're good.
they outshine me.
Yeah, they were good today. We had a lot of calls. And, of course, most everyone said, Rose Bowl over Final Four, pretty much.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
can be wrong from time to time.
I'll tell you when you are. You know that I will. You know I will. Hey, thanks, everybody, for listening. I will talk to you guys tomorrow here on 1030 The Voice, trusted local news and talk.